Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time.
Senator Sheehy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll agree with Senator King's comments that, we all care about the veterans here. We may not always agree. And, in the last 5 years, our veteran VA budget has increased by 70%, over 70%. VA employee headcount's increased by 28%.
Welcome back to America First, Patriots. I'm your host, and if you're new here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe because we're bringing you the hard truths that the mainstream media won't touch. Ring that notification bell because we're fighting for the America our veterans deserve. Today, I'm reacting to some powerful testimony from a Senate hearing on veteran affairs. And folks, what you're about to hear should make every American's blood boil. We're talking about how our government has completely failed the men and women who put their lives on the line for our freedom.
Our veteran population in the country has gone down by over 9%. And yet, as you pointed out, General Bartram, veteran suicide has gone up. Patient wait times have gone up. Call wait times have gone up. Our contract for the veteran healthcare electronic health records is over a decade over schedule now and billions over budget. So all these contracts that are being canceled, I can very much believe that we're not seeing impact in medical care because it seems like the more contracts we issue, the more money we spend, and the more people we're hiring, the quality of the care and our ability to deliver it is actually decreasing. And our ability to interface with community care and allow our veterans to interact with their community's health care that's already there is the best and fastest and cheapest way for us to make sure that if a veteran is in need, a mental health care crisis in rural Montana, when they're hours from a VA hospital, the quickest, best, and cheapest and most effective way for them to get the care they need is not to wait on a phone line for hours on end, not to wait 3+ weeks to get an appointment booked, but to be able to go that day, that minute, to a local care center where they can get what they need. And what we've seen is intentional obstruction for years of the ability for veterans to actually access community care, and that obstructions come from within the VA. Not everybody, not every single person, but there's no question there's been organizational obstruction to accessing private community care for veterans. In a state like Montana, where we have almost 10% of our state are veterans, in a frontier healthcare market, not just rural healthcare, frontier healthcare, to assume that we can build a clinic close enough to every veteran and make sure they have the access in a time of urgent emergency need is fantasy. It is fantasy. They have to be able to access community care, and there's been an intentional obstruction of that within the agency. And the more money we spend and the more contracts we issue, the more people we hire are not solving the problem. It's not. So are we going to solve the problem or are we going to create jobs? And for me, I'm about mission. Having served in combat like Jeremiah and yourself, I'm worried about what's good for the veterans. And I believe Senator King and everyone else is too. We may not agree, but the data does not lie. And the data shows that despite hiring tens of thousands of extra employees and spending billions and billions upon billions of more money on contracts and people and buildings and brick and mortar, it hasn't improved the situation. So I applaud the efforts of Secretary Collins. Have they been perfect? No. Changing a massive organization is never going to be easy or fast. We're going to make mistakes, but something has to change. The trajectory of how we're dealing with our veteran care model has to change. And this administration is changing that, and I support it. So I thank you for your efforts in doing so. It's hard to change something like this without making some mistakes, and you're going to make enemies. But you've taken a big risk in doing it, and I appreciate it. So that's most of my time. But I will, in the vein of my questions, ask a couple of things specifically to Mr. Workman, since you've been getting all the attention so far. I'll give you a break. Transition assistance, you talked about it. You've done it yourself. I've done it. It's a challenging thing to do. What are you going to do specifically with the TAP program, or I should say Transition Assistance Program with TAP, to make sure that we are building a more sturdy bridge for our veterans as they transition so they can have ready-made careers when they get out?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I think it needs to start a little earlier in the transition process. As you know, a lot of junior folks, when they are making that transition, the last thing sometimes between them and a DD 214 is that check in the box that they went through TAP class. We need to put emphasis on it and make sure the commanders are holding their troops accountable and ensuring that they are attending TAP to begin with. But if confirmed, and I get to DOL vets, we need to take a look at it from the top to the bottom and there's absolutely room to improve the process. Like I said, I think we need to make sure that we have a seat at the table with the DOD and the VA as we all administer TAP. And I look forward, like I said, if confirmed, to taking a look at it and seeing what we can do to ensure that we can give veterans and their family members good paying jobs when they leave the military, jobs that when they wake up in the morning, they feel good about what they're doing and they can take care of their family. That's what we're going to do.
Let me break down what we just witnessed. A senator laid out some devastating facts about the Department of Veterans Affairs. In just 5 years, the VA budget has exploded by over 70%. They've hired 28% more employees. Meanwhile, our veteran population has actually decreased by 9%. You'd think with all that extra money and all those extra workers, our heroes would be getting better care, right? Dead wrong. Veteran suicide rates are climbing. Wait times for appointments are getting longer. Phone wait times are worse than ever. And get this, their electronic health record system is over a decade behind schedule and billions over budget. This is government incompetence at its absolute worst, and our veterans are paying the price with their lives. Here's what really gets me fired up as a conservative patriot. This senator hit the nail on the head when he said we're seeing intentional obstruction from within the VA itself. They're actively blocking veterans from accessing community care. Think about that for a second. Government bureaucrats are literally standing between our veterans and the health care they need and deserve. In a state like Montana, where veterans make up almost 10% of the population, you got vast rural areas where the nearest VA hospital might be hours away. When a veteran is having a mental health crisis, they shouldn't have to wait on hold for hours or wait 3 weeks for an appointment. They should be able to walk into their local healthcare facility that day and get help immediately. But the VA establishment doesn't want that. They want to protect their government monopoly, even if it means veterans suffer and die waiting for care. This is exactly why we need to drain the swamp and break up these bloated government agencies that care more about protecting their budgets and their jobs than serving the people they're supposed to help. The senator asked the right question. Are we trying to solve problems, or are we trying to create government jobs? Because the evidence is crystal clear. More money, more employees, more contracts, more bureaucracy equals worse outcomes for veterans. This is government failure 101, and it's happening to the people who deserve our best, not our worst. Now, I want to give credit where credit is due. The senator praised Secretary Collins for trying to reform this broken system. Change is hard, especially when you're fighting against entrenched bureaucrats who benefit from the status quo. But someone has to have the courage to take on this fight, even if it means making enemies in Washington. This is why we need leaders who put mission before politics, who care more about results than rhetoric. Our veterans didn't serve their country, so they could come home and navigate an endless maze of government red tape, while their health deteriorates and their problems go unaddressed. The discussion about the Transition Assistance Program is also critical. We're not just failing veterans after they serve. We're failing them as they transition back to civilian life. The military-to-civilian transition is one of the most challenging things a service member faces, and our government is dropping the ball there too. Veterans need meaningful careers that give them purpose and allow them to support their families. They need skills training that actually prepares them for the modern economy. They need employers who understand the value of military training and discipline. Instead, too many veterans are coming home to unemployment, homelessness, and despair. Patriots, this isn't just about health care or job training. This is about honoring the contract we made with our service members. When they raised their right hand and swore to defend this nation, we promised to take care of them when they came home. We're breaking that promise every single day. The solution isn't more government. It's better government. It's accountability. It's competition. It's giving veterans the freedom to choose where they get their health care instead of forcing them into a one-size-fits-all government system that clearly isn't working. We need to expand community care options. We need to fire the bureaucrats who are obstructing veteran access to health care. We need to audit every single VA program and contract to eliminate waste and corruption. And we need to hold people accountable when they fail our veterans. This is bigger than partisan politics. This is about keeping faith with the men and women who kept faith with America. Every veteran who dies by suicide because they couldn't get help is a moral stain on our nation. Every veteran who suffers because of government incompetence is a betrayal of our values. The data doesn't lie, as the senator said. Despite massive increases in spending and staffing, outcomes are getting worse. That tells you everything you need to know about how government operates when there's no accountability and no competition. We need leaders who will stand up to the VA bureaucracy and demand results. We need transparency in how taxpayer dollars are being spent. We need metrics that measure veteran outcomes, not government employee satisfaction. And we need the political will to make the hard choices necessary to fix this broken system. Patriots, our veterans didn't fight for bigger government or more bureaucracy. They fought for freedom, for opportunity, for the American dream. The least we can do is give them a healthcare system that actually works and transition programs that set them up for success in civilian life. This is why elections matter. This is why we need to support candidates who will fight for veteran reform, not just veteran spending. More money without accountability is just throwing good money after bad, while our heroes continue to suffer. I want to hear from the veterans in our audience. Share your experiences in the comments. Tell us what needs to change. Your voices matter and your service matters. We're not going to let the swamp creatures in Washington forget their obligations to you. If this content opened your eyes to the reality of government failure, smash that like button and share this video with everyone you know. Subscribe to America First, because we're committed to fighting for the veterans who fought for us. Together, we can demand accountability and reform our heroes deserve. Stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for the America our veterans believed in when they served. Until next time, this is America First, and we're not backing down.